This is QTV Nightly News and I am Jenna Bostonko. Thank you for joining us. And a reminder that you can also join us on Q Radio 103.3 FM. Here are the main news headlines. In a significant move to foster national unity, peace and transparency in governance, the Gambia government held a press conference on Friday to formally address concerns raised by the advocacy group Gambians Against Looted Assets Gala. The Gambia Press Union concluded a comprehensive training program for journalists on Thursday, focusing on both physical and digital safety. The Ministry of Health on Friday presented 2 ambulances to 2 communities in the Central River region as part of its continuing efforts to strengthen emergency response in the area. As part of its 2025 annual information session for stakeholders Senegal, the International Governmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa convened a capacity building session for journalists from across the sub-region. And in international news, we explored the rising importance of learning Mandarin Chinese, highlighting its cultural and practical benefits for Gambians and its role in strengthening the growing ties between the Gambia and China. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us. In a significant move aimed at fostering national unity, peace and transparency in governance, the government of the Gambia held a press conference on Friday to formally address concerns raised by the advocacy group Gambians Against Looted Assets Gala. The event followed a public protest and the submission of 3 petitions by Gala last month. And Sumane Sonyasi was there, and this is his report.
The petitions called for immediate government action to combat corruption, the prosecution of officials implicated in various scandals, including the acute kidney injury tragedy that claimed the lives of over 70 children, and the enforcement of parliamentary resolutions related to the $30 million petroleum inquiry. Delivering the government's official response, Finance Minister CDKM Keita acknowledged the seriousness of the concerns raised. He emphasized that the government is actively responding through a series of reforms, including the overhaul of public financial management systems and the tax administration. He also highlighted ongoing compliance with court proceedings related to the AKI victims' lawsuit and disclosed that 13 corruption-related cases initiated by the government against public officials are currently before the courts.
While these investigative actions demonstrate the government's determination to ensure accountability in all spheres of public service, we recognize the delay in completing the investigation and would endeavor to support our accountability institution to improve on the delivery of service to enhance speedy justice.
In response to calls for judicial and prison reform, as well as the repeal of repressive Jame era and, in some cases, colonial era laws, the Minister of Justice Dauda A. Jallo and Minister of Presidential Affairs Maud K. Sise reiterated the government's commitment to structural reform. They revealed that both land and funding have been secured for the construction of a new correctional facility that will meet international standards, paving the way for the eventual closure of the Mile 2 prison, and went on to clarify that some officials implicated in corruption allegations have already been dismissed from their positions.
We have regular prison visits, and then we make sure that the remanded prisoners, their cases may be slow, but for a year, 2 or 3 without appearing before the court, we would definitely, I'd be more than happy to receive if you remember the names of those prisoners. No, it's okay. We can take this dialogue further because that is a serious thing. We will take note of that and we will address those ones immediately.
There are those that are outright theft, the planning, the executions, and even when confronted with the facts, there was denial. So it was deliberate.
Information Minister Dr. Ismaila Cisse echoed similar remarks, extending an olive branch with an open invitation to Gala and other youth-led groups for continued dialogue. He emphasized the government's open-door policy and its readiness to engage in dialogue with concerned citizens.
This is the way we can solve our problems. I don't think it should be about us, we and them. It's about us. We have a journey, a common journey. And this journey, our destinies are tied as people, as citizens. And I think if we don't dialogue, we will never understand each other.
Representatives of Gala who attended the press conference commended the government for addressing their demands and welcomed the invitation for continued engagement. They stated that a formal response would be issued in the coming days. Meanwhile, Justice Minister Dauda A. Jallow also hinted that the government is considering dropping charges against protesters arrested at last week's protest at Pura. Ansmane Sonyasi for KTV News.
The Gambia Press Union, GPU, concluded a comprehensive training program for journalists on Thursday, focusing on both physical and digital safety. The program emphasized risk assessment, safety measures, and contingency planning. This initiative comes at a crucial time as journalists face increasing challenges while covering protests, political events, and other potentially hazardous assignments. Julden Jai has the rest of that story.
The training could not have come at a more opportune time, when the theory of such training was demonstrated as being a reality. During a protest organized by the group Gomsa Bopa and partners on the 22nd of August against what they attributed to Pura's involvement in an alleged siding with GSM companies and against consumers in what has been a data price war, several protesters were arrested, detained, and later granted bail. Some journalists were also caught in the chaos, with police deploying tear gas outside the court to disperse the crowd. The knowledge gained from the 3-day training provides comprehensive guidance for journalists covering both physical and digital safety. The Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union emphasized that both the police and media editors have a shared responsibility to ensure the safety and protection of journalists while carrying out their work.
What we would say to the police is that also it is not desirable, for us as a union that often we see indiscriminate use of force against protesters, and journalists become casualties as part of this, as we have seen recently and also in the past, where journalists were hospitalized, because they've suffered from exposure to tear gas, and some got injured, and those kind of stuff. So we think the police should also devise other means of crowd dispersing.
To mitigate risks to journalists, particularly during protests, the Gambia Press Union has trained over 100 journalists in both physical and digital safety over the years. The training emphasizes awareness of hazardous environments and equips journalists with the skills needed to navigate potentially dangerous situations, especially in the lead-up to the 2026 elections in the Gambia. Fatou George, a journalist with HTD TV, was exposed to tear gas while covering the anti-Pura protests.
Because of the training that I got in these 3 days, I know how to protect myself when they throw tear gas. How am I going to protect myself from that? Maybe to use a towel and then protect myself, or to lie down.
Yankuba Jallow, a journalist with Foroya, says thorough preparation has become central to his reporting, and also expressed concern over the SSR process.
The security sector reform is going at a snail pace. The TRRC made several recommendations. Key amongst them is the police should actually do trainings on crowd control. The police should do training, police and all other security forces should also do training on what we call human rights. These are things that the government should actually invest on.
Matar Jase, a camera operator with the Fatou network, says the training has fundamentally changed the way he will approach high-risk and tense assignments.
We normally close to them, understand? But in this training, we learned that normally you don't have to close them. You have to take a distance and use your zoom to zoom whatever you're supposed to zoom.
Incidents like the recent anti-Pura protests highlight the risks journalists face, underscoring the importance of comprehensive safety training that equips them to navigate tense situations and protect both themselves and their sources. For QTV News, I am Julden Yai.
Timely. Now, the Ministry of Health has presented 2 ambulances to 2 communities in the Central River region as part of its ongoing effort to strengthen emergency response and improve access to healthcare services for residents. More in this report by Babu Karsise.
The presentation of the ambulances, which are part of a fleet of 80 was held in Pancham village in the Central River region. The vehicles were provided to Tamba, Angale and Batinjol to ease mobility challenges and enhance access to healthcare services throughout the region. Deputizing for the Minister of Health, Babanding Sabali, the Deputy Permanent Secretary Technical at the Ministry of Health, presided over the ceremony.
We concluded that the area is a hard-to-reach area. Therefore, it is fitting that we allocate an ambulance there. This will help in the evacuation of the sick. More especially the women who are expecting. And we hope it will make an impact in the community.
Fafa Sise, a resident of Batinjol, said the ambulances will help save lives, especially after a recent unfortunate incident that occurred before its arrival.
The arrival of the ambulance is truly a blessing. When I visited on Wednesday, it happened that the Khalif General's son's wife was in labor from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. and there was no ambulance to take her to Bansang Hospital. In the end, we had to put her in a taxi bagasse for transport. Sadly, she passed away before reaching Choya village. May Allah grant her Jannah.
Sohna Sise is the women mobilizer at Batinjol.
Our first ambulance broke down, and this is now our second one. Only the state can provide such vital support, and we stand with the government because, as women who bear children, we face many challenges. We extend our sincere thanks to President Barrow and the Minister of Health for this invaluable assistance.
Alhaji Mot J. Sise, the Caliph General of Batinjol, welcomed the ambulances and called for additional support for his village.
When you return, please convey to the President and the Minister of Health that we are grateful to receive this ambulance. However, our village faces additional challenges. While we have a health center, our growing population requires a full hospital to meet the area's health care needs. We also urgently need electricity, and although we have seen efforts towards this, it remains a critical requirement. Additionally, we need access to clean water. A borehole has been dug but is still incomplete.
Biran Diouf, the Councillor of Nyamina East, Malik Mbai, the former Chief of Upper Salum, representatives from Tamba, Angale and Mahmud Fana all expressed their gratitude to the government for donating the ambulances. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
From that story by Babukar Sise, we will now go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we have more national and international news stories to stay.
Browse with us. QCell brings you a promo like never before. Get unlimited internet for just $25. Yes! Recharge $25 and enjoy the convenience of free internet from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day with our Browse with Us promo. With this amazing offer, you can browse, stream, and download all your favorite movies for free. So why wait? Recharge $25 today and enjoy free internet only with QCell between 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. For more information, call customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Bus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Supersonics Islamic Insurance. Nyinne Gambia la insurance follow te mi yalon ko yalla solo kuwol kamalena minne sariyango tata ye kukuto kamalena minul be sone yaring falla bunda dal nga insurance service sifa jamal le sotali pour kaje ko ali kayro soto tanko anin hakil tenkugo wati o wati sulatal ida ke Supersonic Insurance Company la do kuoto isen na lodulaje nkumande bi +220 513 2319 513-2318 wala 513-2315. Isang email mo info www.supersonicinsurance.com. Wara yetan na website odo www.supersonicinsurance.com. Ese futano na dunkira bato mimbe Beka Plaza 56 Liberation Avenue, Banjul.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I'm Jenna Bosonko. Now, still on local news, as part of its 2025 annual information session for stakeholders in Dakar, Senegal, the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa convened a capacity-building session for invited journalists from across the sub-region who were equipped with knowledge and tools to effectively report on money laundering, terrorist financing, and related threats. Here is Alusise.
The capacity building session provides an opportunity to share with these participants what their roles are in the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing, as well as the trends, patterns, and methods of money laundering and terrorism financing in West Africa. With financial crimes becoming increasingly sophisticated, Tim Mele, acting principal officer for communications and advocacy at JABA, and one of the facilitators, underscored the vital role of the media in the fight against financial crimes.
Media are the one that can propagate the message to everyone outside the conference rooms. So we expect the media to do quite a lot by taking this message outside the rooms, by sensitizing the public, by creating awareness, by also taking ownership of the fights, by creating necessary awareness to the community so that people understand the negative consequences of money laundering and terrorist financing in our region, by not only understanding it but taking the appropriate action to combat these issues and menaces in our society. If people don't know, there is nothing they can do. So the media can be a very veritable channel to help people to know, to help people to understand, to create awareness on the legal, illegal activities and the impacts on the society, impact on health, impact on education, impact on infrastructure, on facilities in our countries. If we all fight this menace, we're going to have a peaceful and prosperous economy across West African countries.
Participants believe this training will empower them to avoid fake news in their media reporting. They promise to put to practice the knowledge gained. Here are Khadija Mohammed Sisi of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Mohammed Jawat Nyale, Media Lead, Sierra Leone's Ministry of Information, and Abdullah Hassan of Dakar-based West Africa Democracy Radio.
Well, it's always refreshing to be updated concerning money laundering, terrorist financing. And JABA has made it a point to always give us refresher courses and update us about the new trends and so on and so forth. So anytime you attend these workshops, we expect that at the end of the day, with the old data we have, if we are able to merge it, we are able to act more accordingly and be very critical in our choice of words or our choice of publication.
Knowledge, a lot of insights, and in terms of how it will impact us in my country, I really liaise a lot with journalists to work on these issues, especially with our local financial intelligence agency. These deep insights now gives me a fresh approach in terms of how to tell the stories of how much effort we are doing back in our country to really make sure we address some of the gaps, address some of the challenges, amplify some of the work we are doing back home.
Going further, I will try as much as possible to see that even through my own personal act that I become an advocate, because now also we understand that African nations are stagnated in terms of development, human capacity, and we see how that manifests in high unemployment rates. Young people across West Africa seeking migratory routes, many of them die in hundreds. So understand that these are all the different ways that money laundering and financial crimes affect our countries.
These journalists are now expected to join the advocacy to better raise public awareness to counter the menace. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
Aliou Cissé there, reporting from Dakar, Senegal. Now moving on, as part of the global commemoration of World Breastfeeding Week 2025, the National Nutrition Agency, NANA, with support from UNICEF and partners, celebrated the day at the Kanifing General Hospital to raise awareness on the importance of breastfeeding. Aisa Tubari was there, and this is her report.
The annual event, observed globally from August 1st to the 7th, under the theme Prioritize Breastfeeding, Create Sustainable Support Systems, is commemorated throughout the month of August in the Gambia. The event brought together midwives, nurses, lactating mothers, and students from the School of Public Health, with local Kenyaleng women providing entertainment for the day. Nafisa bint Safik, UNICEF's representative to the Gambia, highlighted how the support of men can contribute to a healthier environment for breastfeeding mothers.
Support must begin with fathers. Men are the first layers of the support system. When fathers champion breastfeeding by encouraging, sharing responsibilities, and protecting mothers from pressure, success becomes possible. Families and communities then reinforce this support.
Basiru Drame, CEO of the Kanifing General Hospital, highlights the importance of breastfeeding.
Breast milk is the best option for the baby, especially during the first 6 months of life. It is a nutrition that is perfectly suited to an infant's need. It boosts this immune system, support healthy growth and development, and strengthen the special bond between the mother and child.
Abdul Aziz Sisi, Director of Social and Behavioral Change Communication at NANA, highlighted the objectives of this year's World Breastfeeding Week.
Inform people about their role in creating supportive, sustainable environment for breastfeeding, and the actors' continuous breastfeeding support as a valid component to create a sustainable environment. Engage with individual and organizations to enhance collaboration and support for breastfeeding.
To support breastfeeding mothers, Kanifing General Hospital, with the support of UNICEF, has established a dedicated breastfeeding center, known as a creche, within its premises. The center provides a safe, private, and comfortable space for mothers to breastfeed while at work or visiting the hospital. Ensuring both maternal and child health is prioritized. The creche is part of a broader effort to promote breastfeeding, improve child nutrition, and create supportive environments for working mothers in the Gambia. Maria Majata is a nurse and a beneficiary of the creche.
So I can remember last year myself and one of the staff, Amina, yes, we were having problem with our babies. We don't have anybody to help us at home to keep our babies. So whenever we are here, we are thinking about our babies at home. So when we went to the matron, we told her about that. She promised us that by October or November, there will be a daycare for us. So whenever we bring our babies, we were one of the first mothers to bring our babies there.
A similar commemoration is planned for Bundung Maternal Hospital on Friday, 29th of August. As the nation commemorates World Breastfeeding Week, it is an opportunity to celebrate progress, recognize ongoing challenges, and strengthen commitment to the health of mothers and children by prioritizing breastfeeding and investing in sustainable support systems. The Gambia is not only promoting healthier lives today, but also laying the foundation for a healthier, more resilient generation tomorrow. Aissatou Bari, QTV News.
Beautiful. Now let's take a look at news beyond our borders. Language shapes societies, fosters communication, and bridges cultural divides. In this report by Usman Jata, he delves into the growing significance of learning Mandarin Chinese, examining its cultural and practical value for Gambians, with a focus on the strengthening of ties between the Gambia and China. Here's the report.
Like many African nations, boast a rich linguistic diversity with over 8 indigenous languages including Mandinka, Fula, Wolof and Sarahule. However, China's linguistic diversity is even more immense, with a population of over 1.4 billion and 56 ethnic groups, each with its own dialect. Mandarin Chinese, the official language spoken by the majority Han population, is the world's most spoken language with 1.3 billion native speakers, which is more than double the next most spoken in terms of native speakers, which is Spanish. Mandarin native speakers are also more than 3 times the number of English native speakers. To communicate in basic Mandarin, learners need to master around 581 characters out of 90,000 for fluency. Experts say one must master 1,333 syllables, 23 initials, 35 finals, and 5 distinct tones. The evolution of Chinese language and script spans thousands of years, starting from oracle-bone inscriptions used during the Shang dynasty. Over centuries, these symbols have transformed into the modern written language used today. Yang Ying, an instructor at the Diplomatic Personnel Language and Culture Center, shares insights on how to effectively learn Mandarin.
I think if you go to the university or like our school, maybe if you just focus on learning, maybe 1 year you can learn, you can speak fluently and also read well. But if you just learn like 2 hours 1 week, it takes a longer time.
China's rise as a global economic, technological, and diplomatic power makes Mandarin a valuable skill. For Gambians, proficiency in Chinese opens doors to educational opportunities, particularly as the number of Gambian students in Chinese universities increases and trade relations between the two nations grow. The University of the Gambia has been pivotal in promoting Chinese language and culture. In 2019, launched the Confucius Chinese program to foster educational exchanges and strengthen bilateral ties. The university's language center equips students and professionals with the skills to engage with China in academia and business. By learning Mandarin, individuals enhance their ability to participate in global dialogue, whether studying in China or collaborating with Chinese people and businesses. Osman Jatta, QTV News, Beijing, China.
That is all we have time for in this edition of QTV News. Thank you for joining us.